With modern pharmacology progressing rapidly, the second session, Newer Agents for Managing Diabetes Mellitus, will focus on innovative pharmacotherapeutics in diabetes care. We'll look at molecules that offer not just glycemic control, but also cardiovascular, renal, and metabolic benefits. Let's explore what's new and what's next. We call upon our chairpersons, Dr. Sadanand Naik, Alva's Teaching Hospital, sir, with special interest in toxicology, legal medicine, and medical education. Dr. Prakash Harishchandra, Professor, AJ Institute of Medical Science, Department of General Medicine, sir, with special interest in diabetes, obesity in young individuals. We call upon our chairpersons to grace the stage and chair our sessions.
Good morning. They say it's very greedy to have, to think more. It's a human virtue. But when it comes to diabetologists, to be greedy regarding the insulin therapy, to have better insulin molecules, to better combinations, is not a bad virtue. Today we have Dr. Matthew to tell us about the newer combination and newer insulins. Over to you, Dr. Matthew.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to thank Ganesh and team for inviting me here. So I'll be looking at Iglar Lixi. I think most of you sitting here would have been using this molecule for over a year or two, and you're all very familiar with this, but still we will just go through it. Now, if you look at why we need to have newer and newer molecules to treat type 2 diabetes, this is one study called the Landmark study, which is a large study, around 6,000 odd patients throughout the entire country, all regions of the country. It's a longitudinal prospective observational data. And there are some findings which came out of this study, mainly that around 63% of people with type 2 diabetes whom we are managing are having an A1C of more than 7%. That means basically they are uncontrolled. And 66% of these patients are obese. They have a BMI, mean BMI was around 27. And around 21% of these patients have micro or macrovascular complications. So we are dealing with a group of patients who are obese, who are uncontrolled diabetes, and also type 2 diabetes related complications. So what are we missing in our management guidelines, or rather what are the molecules or pathologies that we are unable to address to bring more and more patients to better control? One is, we know that after using up oral glucose lowering agents, we move on to basal insulin. But what happens after basal insulin? Once you increase your basal insulin, do all your patients come under control? Or once you finish using basal insulin, or your patients are uncontrolled on basal insulin, what do you do next? Where you move on to a basal plus insulin, where you add a single dose of short-acting analog, or you move on to a basal bolus insulin, or you want to move on to a premixed insulin. The other option, an extremely good option, is to start a GLP-1 RA on top of basal insulin to get it controlled. Or you could have a combination of both GLP-1 RA and basal insulin as a single molecule. So these are the different options that you have. And each of these methods can be used for a particular group of patients. You can personalize your particular patient. All these methods have one or the other benefits and disadvantages. When you add multiple rapid-acting insulin, you have more and more injections coming into for the same patients. You could move on to a premixed insulin. That is one of the most common things that we do in clinical practice. But we are all aware of the lack of flexibility of dose titration with premixed insulin and increase in weight gain. Starting a once daily or a once weekly GLP-1 RA is an extremely good option. You get very good glycemic control with that. But we are all aware of the gastrointestinal adverse effects which could possibly come. And we are all aware how we can manage those also. But still additional injections are required. And patient has to use 2 different devices. If you have a combination of a fixed ratio combination of a GLP-1 RA and a basal analog, you do have 2 agents which can potentially tackle the basal insulin can tackle the fasting glucose, and the GLP-1 can tackle the postprandial glucose. There are gastrointestinal problems which can be adverse with that, but the small dosing and titration of this fixed drug combinations can mitigate most of the gastrointestinal adverse effects. These are once daily administered drugs. So this is the advantage of using a fixed drug combination. So these are the different areas where a combination of basal insulin and GLP-1 RAs can produce a benefit. One, it can address multiple pathophysiological areas, pathophysiologies of type 2 diabetes. Convenience is there. You have a single injection, single pen giving you the injection. You can achieve glycemic controls faster and you can have a more durable control over a period of time. Being a small dose which is being uptitrated very slowly, you can have a reduced gastrointestinal problems associated with GLP-1 RAs. And definitely because of the good control, you can delay the progression of diabetes and the development of diabetes complications. So what is Iglar, Lixi or Soliqua, which I am talking about today? This is a fixed drug combination of insulin glargine and which is a basal insulin and lixisenatide, which is a GLP-1 RA. We all used lixisenatide many years back. It had gone out of market, now coming in as a new form that is then a fixed drug combination. So what does this do? It gives you the benefit of both basal insulin and the GLP-1 RA, both together in the same syringe or in the same cartridge. Now, if you look at the various pathophysiologies of type 2 diabetes, this combination will address most of the pathophysiologies. The insulin will take care of hepatic glucose production, will reduce hepatic glucose production and gluconeogenesis. The insulin can take care of increased glucose being driven into muscles, and it can sort of reduce the fat breakdown. GLP-1, we are all aware what it can do. It can increase the glucose dependent on insulin release, the endogenous insulin release. It can reduce glucagon, increase the satiety and reduce the gastric emptying. So if you look at this picture, you'd realize that the only area which is not addressed is the SGLT2 related areas, which these molecules don't address, but everything other pathophysiology of diabetes this can address. So what is the global recommendations for the use of this? Now it says that the ADA, the AAC or the ADA-ESD guidelines, various guidelines have placed this combination molecule in an area where you have an increased A1C, like more than 9% usually at onset. That is almost 2% above normal levels in a patient with diabetes who is already used up oral glucose lowering agents. But you could always consider this as addition as the first injectable for your patients with type 2 diabetes if they are uncontrolled on oral glucose lowering drugs instead of basal insulin or instead of premixed insulin. Now we can look at the clinical evidence of this molecule. So you can see that the Iglar Lixi has been studied in various situations. It has been studied in people who are suboptimally controlled on oral glucose lowering drugs, people who have already started using basal insulin but still uncontrolled, people who have not been controlled on GLP-1 RAs, and people who are already on premixed insulin. Now you want a better control, you can switch over to this molecule. These are the various areas in which it has been studied. So I won't be covering the entire spectrum of events. I'll be just going through two studies just to highlight this molecule. One is something called a SOLI-D study. So here it's a 45-year-old gentleman with type 2 diabetes of 7 to 8 years. He's already on metformin and he's on sulfonylurea, alpha-glucosidase inhibitor, etc. He's got an A1C of 8.5 and a BMI of 25. So the question which is being addressed here is that whether this molecule Soliqua is better than a combination of IDEC-ASP, which is used in clinical practice. Which of these is better in terms of the first injectable which you add? So IDEC-ASP versus Soliqua is the thing. So here you have people with type 2 diabetes randomized into two groups. One is Iglar Lixi or the Soliqua group, or the other one is IDEC-ASP group. So one is an insulin, one is a fixed drug combination. Both these drugs have been increased in dosage, titrated over a period of 24 weeks. And the primary endpoint is the non-inferiority of HbA1c change. You can see that these groups are matched in terms of age, female versus male, in terms of BMI, in terms of the duration of diabetes, A1C, and the drugs, the baseline drugs which they are on. Now coming to the improvements in glycemic control, you can see that people who have been in Soliqua have a reduction of A1C of around 1.88% compared to 1.6% with IDEC-ASP, and this is superior. It has been statistically significant for both superiority and non-inferiority. So basically, Soliqua produces a better A1C reduction in comparison to Ryzodeg. Now coming to a comparison for baseline weight, change from baseline weight, we know that one of the concerns with the use of insulin is the weight gain. And you can see that people who have been exposed to Soliqua had a minor weight loss in comparison to people who are on Idagasp, who have a weight gain of around 1.2 kgs, which is again for the weight change, it is statistically significant. And coming to the insulin dose requirement, comparing the dose of insulin within these molecules, you can see that people who are on Soliqua have a lesser requirement of insulin in comparison to Ryzodeg. Now coming to what proportion of patients reach targets. Now if you look at a criteria of A1C less than 7%, more people on Soliqua reached a target in comparison to Ryzodeg, and more patients reached an A1C of less than 7 without body weight gain, and more patients reached an A1C of 7 without body weight gain or hypoglycemia during treatment. So it's very important that when you have patients whom you are trying to control the blood glucose, you need to get them to target of less than 7% or 6.5% without weight gain and without hypoglycemia, where Soliqua outperforms the comparator for this particular outcome. Now coming to the more important point of hypoglycemia. So if you look at any hypoglycemia, ADL level 1 hypoglycemia or ADL level 2 hypoglycemia, you can see the event rates of hypoglycemia obviously lesser in Soliqua in comparison to Ryzodeg. And this primarily you can realize that because you are using lesser insulin here and you are having a GLP-1 RA, which also contributes to the A1C reduction without increasing risk of hypoglycemia. Now, what did we learn from the SOLI-D study? It's got a statistically superior in terms of A1C reduction, superior body weight management, more patients achieve composite outcomes, lower risk of hypoglycemia, and there are no abnormal safety findings in these studies. Now coming to the next common clinical scenario, suppose you are already on basal insulin. How do you go further and your patient is uncontrolled? So here is a 57-year-old gentleman with type 2 diabetes of 12 years who is already on metformin and SGLT2 inhibitor and on basal insulin 26 units per day. He's got an A1C of 8.7% and a BMI of 28. So it's called the SOLIMIX study, where they are comparing Soliqua to Novomix 30 or to a premixed analog. So premixed analogs are extremely common and probably the most commonly used drug in this scenario when we want to sort of improve upon basal insulin that we use. Here again, these patients with type 2 diabetes are randomized into two groups. One is Iglar Lixi, that is Soliqua versus Novomix. Again, for both the groups, the doses are titrated on a 3-day basis to achieve normoglycemia or a normal fasting glucose. And what you can see in terms of A1C is here. If you have Soliqua, you have a 1.3% reduction in A1C from baseline in comparison to 1.1% with Novomix. And if you look at the body weight gain, it's 0.7 kgs less with Soliqua in comparison to 1.2 kg up with Novomix. So as an addition to basal insulin, this seems to be both superior in terms of A1C reduction and weight management. Now again, composite endpoints, as I told you, are very important. You need to have A1C reduction, of which 42% of patients reach target compared to 31% in Novomix arm. And if you look at A1C without hypoglycemia or A1C without weight gain, it is 27 versus 12.4. And A1C less than 7 without weight gain and without hypoglycemia is 19 versus 7, showing the superiority of the molecule. Now, mean daily insulin, obviously, again, as I told you, when you have a combination of a GLP-1 with an insulin, you obviously need lesser insulin than when you are using insulin alone to achieve a good glycemic control. Hypoglycemia, again, I'm not going too much into the details, but just to show you that around 38% reduced risk of any hypoglycemia, 45% reduced risk of ADL level 1, and 55 in terms of ADL level 2. So one is less than 70 and one is less than 54. Now again, to summarize what I just told you, better glycemic control without weight gain, lesser hypoglycemia, fewer injections, because Soliqua is once daily, Novomix was twice daily in this particular study. So it's a very simpler and efficacious and well-tolerated method. Now, how do you really start the injection? How do you adjust the doses? Now, I think it is better to concentrate on the right-hand side. So what you see here is that every time you dial 10, say the first dialing you can see marked in yellow, 10 units, when you give 10 units of glargine, you actually give 5 micrograms of lixisenatide. So you can keep on adjusting the dose till you reach around 40 units of Lantus, and that is equivalent, plus 20 units of 20 micrograms of lixisenatide. So it comes as a pre-filled 3 ml pen, which contains 300 units of glargine and 150 micrograms of lixisenatide. So you can increase in dose steps. From 10 dose steps, you can slowly, when you say 10 dose steps, that basically means 10 units, and then you keep on increasing it to 40 units. So how much can you start in a patient when you are freshly initiating on it? Say, suppose you have a patient who is already on glibenclamide or glimepiride and metformin, and you want to start on Soliqua. You start with 10 dose steps, and then you slowly increase the dose to 11, 12, as you wish, till you reach a fasting glucose of 100 to 110. Then I'll come to the dose titration in the next slide. Suppose your patient is already on insulin glargine or already on some insulin and you want to change it to Soliqua. How do you do that? So if the person is already on person is less than 20 units total daily dose of insulin, you start at 10, just like you start for a new patient. If the person is already using more than or equal to 20 units of insulin, you start at 20. So that is the way you start insulin, start Soliqua. And how do you adjust? You can have any titration based on your patient profile. You'll be very careful with the patient who is at risk of hypoglycemia. You will be more liberal with the patient who has got lesser risk of hypoglycemia. But a simple target method you can use is that if your patient has got a fasting glucose of between 100 to 140, you can go up by plus 2 units. If it is between 80 to 100, you don't need to change the unit. And if it is less than 80, you reduce it by 2 units. What time do you give? You give it subcutaneously once a day within 1 hour prior to a meal. The meal doesn't matter. You can have it with breakfast, lunch or dinner according to whatever is your convenient meal. But after taking the injection, within 1 hour, the patient needs to have the meal. To maintain discipline, it's always good to keep it at the same meal of the day. Most of our patients use it with breakfast. And if you miss it in the breakfast meal, you can always use it in the lunch meal. So you don't need to wait for the next day to take the injection. Now, what happens in special situations like elderly, renal impairment, hepatic impairment, and pregnancy? In elderly, people who are more than 65 years old, there is no particular precaution. In fact, you could consider it in preference to insulin because of the less risk of hypoglycemia in this group. Renal impairment, up to an eGFR of less than 30 or up to 30, you can continue to use it. Lixisenatide is contraindicated below 30 eGFR. So if it goes below 30, you are not supposed to use it. Hepatic impairment, with the data that we have now, there is no dose adjustments for hepatic impairment. But remember that many of these drugs are never studied for severe hepatic impairment, where only insulin is the drug of choice. And pregnancy and lactation, it has not been studied, so don't use it in pregnancy or lactation. This is how I like to summarize. If you look at the overall benefits of a fixed drug combination of Iglar, of Lixi and Glargine, it's once a day dosing. You saw the HbA1c benefits. I showed you the weight benefits, the lower risk of hypoglycemia. Showed you the GI tolerability, which is better than that of the traditional GLP-1 RAs. More patients achieve glycemic control in comparison to use of basal insulin or comparison to premixed insulin. And you can have both fasting and postprandial control and an effective A1C reduction. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Just one question. Those who go for regular dinners, who take a large meal in the night rather than breakfast or lunch, do you prefer to be taking in the pre-dinner?
Yes, sir. You can use it pre-dinner. You can fix it with any meal you like, whichever is the major meal would be the most preferred meal. So if you think that dinner is the major meal, you can definitely use it.
Can they keep switching the timings?
Generally, it's not advised, but it may not make any major change. because both are, one is long-acting insulin and one is a lixinergy. It may
Most
not
of
make
them,
major
people
change.
are used to taking basal insulin in the night.
Yeah,
So they may feel little awkward. Those are already taking Glargine in the night.
yeah. So this is actually switched from Glargine. So suppose you are already using Glargine and you are not on control, you can consider moving into Soliqua. But the time doesn't matter. You can have it with the dinner, as if your dinner is a major meal, you can have it with dinner.
But that you advised pre-meal,
Yeah.
1 hour before meal.
Before meal, yeah,
Because basal they are used to take bedtime.
yeah. Basal actually is not, really bedtime is not required for basal. Basal is, you can take it at any time of the day, provided you maintain the time. So if you want to take a morning basal insulin, you can still use morning insulin.
Those are used to basal bolus.
Yeah,
Then there will be some
generally this,
discrepancies.
yeah, generally Soliqua has not been studied along with the bolus insulin. They have been studied alone. But I think even though it's off-label, you can always consider mixing and matching your insulins to suit good glycemic control.
Thank you.
Hello, good morning, sir. Thank you. What is the weight loss you would see with this GLP?
It's not very dramatic like the GLP-1 RS. I showed you the data. It is like less than 1 kg, 1.5 kgs. Patient to patient variation is there, but not like the long-acting GLP-1 RS, which produce much better weight loss.
Withdrawal of this?
You can call it weight neutral actually.
Weight neutral. Only thing the appetite will decrease. That
Yeah.
will be better. Okay. Any cautions we should be looking at complications when we should immediately withdraw it during hospitalization? How many days will the wear-off effect will be there if they develop any infection and ketosis?
Okay. 24 hours, just like the longest acting among the two is the Glargine. So just like you use basal insulin effect will wear off after 24 hours if you're using Glargine. Same effect will hold here. After 24 hours, you may not see an effect. You may need to do something else.
Somebody with a high BMI, obese, with high sugars, already on multiple OADs, you're starting this. Do you want us to start at a higher step if you feel confident? As a clinician, you know that his requirement is at a higher level.
Yes, that's actually very personalized. Suppose you're dealing with a patient who is overweight, who has got a very high A1C and you want to start Soliqua, yeah, definitely you should start at a higher dose. Most of the time, the dose recommendations which are given are based on clinical trials. And so that is a very fixed sort of protocol for everyone to follow. But for your individual patients, you are free to change the dose.
Thank you. Audience, anybody, if you have questions, please go ahead.